The Blue Jays have a very good problem. Too many good players and not enough playing time. As it stands right now, Nathan Lucas is projected to be on the bench for the Blue Jays, who started in almost every single postseason game. And with the increased rumors that the Blue Jays are still in on Bo Bichette or Kyle Tucker, another everyday MLB player is going to get their playing time slashed, which means the Blue Jays might consider trading away one of these players in order to make room. But who would that be? Most fans and analysts have suggested the Blue Jays might move on from Anthony Santander. I mean, from a Blue Jays perspective, it makes the most sense. He was clearly the weakest link on the 2025 roster. But I'm here today to tell you that it's just not that simple, guys. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Blue Jays Today. And today, we're going to be breaking down the complexities of an Anthony Santander trade and why it might not be that realistic and easy for the Blue Jays to do. And if the Blue Jays aren't able to trade him, then who else would it be? Before we get into it, though, I encourage you guys to please hit that like button and consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, Blue Jays Today. We make daily Blue Jays content, so if you're a big Blue Jays fan, this is where you want to be for the 2026 season. So where this idea of Anthony Santander getting traded away from the Blue Jays roster originated from was actually from our good friend Mitch Bannon over at The Athletic. He was discussing the Blue Jays still being in on the Bo Bichette and Kyle Tucker markets, and he added right at the end of one of his articles, shout out to Josh, the Jays fan, for grabbing the screenshot. He said right at the end right here, when considering adding another player, he says, more likely Toronto would have to make a significant trade like moving Anthony Santander with 4 years left on his deal to open room for Bichette. So I want to start first with the whole idea of moving Anthony Santander, since that's what this video is about. Then we'll talk about it being for Bichette a little bit later. So first things first, Anthony Santander. I'm going to say this right out of the gate. I don't think an Anthony Santander trade is on the table at all, for a number of reasons. One, his value is just way too low right now. You have to think of it from the other team's perspective. From the Blue Jays' perspective, hell yeah, it makes a lot of sense. He's got a big contract. He was performing poorly last year. He was injured in the 1 year he was with us, and he's complicating this big logjam in the corner outfielders for guys like Schneider and Barger and maybe a Kyle Tucker and all the Nathan Lucas and Miles Straw, all these guys. Let's just dump them and get rid of them. I totally hear that argument, but from another team's perspective, they don't want that guy for all the reasons that I just mentioned right there. Yes, Anthony Santander had a bad year last year. -1 WAR, according to Baseball Reference. An OPS of 565, 34 hits. He only hit 6 homers and 194 at-bats. He barely played in any games. He played in 54. Guys, this season was a trash can year. But you look at the history of Anthony Santander in the 4 seasons prior to it, where he played 155, 153, 152, 110, he was relatively healthy that entire time. So this was just an anomaly year. It was a trash can year, but teams are still going to consider that. He is going to be 31 this upcoming year, and he just had a big injury year. We don't know if he could do it again, and now you're asking teams to also take on a contract, which also leads me to the point. For the Blue Jays, you're going to have to probably eat a lot of this contract. They're in a complicated situation. No one's going to give them the value that they want for Anthony Santander. They're going to still have to pay a large part of that contract. So why not, if you're the Toronto Blue Jays, think of it from their perspective. If we can't get rid of him, we made this big monetary investment, why don't we just see what another year's got? This is baseball, after all. People get injured and have bad years all along. Take Bo Bichette, for instance. In 2024, he had an injury-riddled season, and when he was on the field, he did not look good. What happened the following year? He bounced back, was healthy, had a phenomenal year. Now he's testing out the free agent market. Granted, Bo Bichette is a lot younger, but still, it could happen to anybody. So for the Blue Jays, I think it doesn't make any sense to dump him right now. This is where I tend to lean that the Blue Jays are probably not going to bring Bo Bichette for a couple of reasons. One of them is just there is a giant logjam now with Kazuma Okamoto coming over and playing third base almost every single day for the Toronto Blue Jays. And now you have, if you bring back Bo Bichette, this weird logjam where you got Ernie Clement, who was breaking out last year. You got him under contract for a while. Andres Jimenez, same thing, not breaking out, but still under contract for a while. And you've got the likes of Addison Barger and a Davis Schneider. Right now, it feels like an awkward fit for Bo Bichette. And the other reason is just because, you know, the contract situation is a little bit murky right now for him, whereas Kyle Tucker might be a little bit more clear path for the Blue Jays, and a little bit more clear path in other ways. I'll get to that in a moment. So Bo Bichette's situation kind of feels a little bit doubtful, in my opinion. That leads me to believe that Kyle Tucker is more likely the guy that the Blue Jays go out and get. Now, it's not guaranteed, of course, because there's other teams in play right here, but I do believe that Kyle Tucker makes a ton more sense right now than Bo Bichette. When you look over at who is under contract for the Toronto Blue Jays after the 2026 season, you're starting to see that George Springer is going to be gone, who was an everyday outfielder, right now DH, but that DH spot clears up for what could potentially be like an Anthony Santander or anybody else who wants to get some, you know, a day off their feet, go play some DH. But you also got Dalton Varsho. Now, Dalton Varsho, he might be coming back. You don't know. They might want to sign him back, but that's a bridge to be crossed later. Or he might want to go test out the free agent market. That is his right to do so. But you're looking at a potential outfield, just based on the roster of guys right now, not including Kyle Tucker, a potential outfield of guys that has Addison Barger in right field, Anthony Santander maybe in left field, we'll see where they put them, and then Miles Straw. So you might be thinking, okay, well, if the DH spot does open up, maybe you move Anthony Santander over there. That opens up another corner outfield spot. Well, you could put Davis Schneider there, or you could put Kyle Tucker. So for the 2026 season, it's still going to be a logjam if you bring in Kyle Tucker, but at least for 2027, it's going to clear up immensely. Whereas the infield right now in 2026, it's pretty full and it's pretty complete, and adding Bo Bichette would just complicate that further. So that's why I'm tending to believe that it's going to be Kyle Tucker coming over to the Blue Jays. And also, that leads me to my final point. If it's not Anthony Santander getting traded, then who the heck is going to get traded? Well, I'm looking over at guys right now. The only guy that really makes sense would be a Nathan Lucas if they were to do it. I don't think they would trade Davis Schneider just because of his ability to hit left-handed pitching, his ability to play in the outfield, the infield, what he means to the clubhouse, Miles Straw with his contract, and again, what he would mean to the clubhouse as well. Addison Barger is another candidate people have thrown out. Again, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. They believe in that guy too much. He's a left-handed power bat, and he can play outfield and the infield. So the only guy that really stands out is Nathan Lucas. But again, he's brought so much value to this team that it doesn't really make sense either. That is why, ladies and gentlemen, I personally believe, and I could be absolutely wrong, I don't think they go make a trade away in the position player side of things. I don't think they do. I think in 2026, they're going to just suck it up. And they're going to ride with some guys that could potentially be losing a lot of playing time. I think they do. This is the year to go win the World Series while you still have George Springer and Kevin Gausman and Dalton Varsho and a lot of guys still on the books. This is the year to go win it. So you got to load up on depth because, again, injuries happen. I made this point in our earlier podcast this week. Injuries are going to happen. So there's going to be guys that are going to get their opportunities. Nathan Lucas had 0 playing time last year until Anthony Santander was hurt. Then he got all the playing time. So there will be opportunities for dudes to get in the lineup. So if they're fully healthy, though, and they're going to the World Series and winning rings, I don't think that Nathan Lucas is going to complain being on the bench because he was there for last year and he helped them get them there, which then got them to this position, and again, he's going to play throughout the season. He might get half the at-bats, but he still is going to play. So I think, in conclusion, Blue Jays might not actually make a move if they go out and get the guy that I think they're going to get, which is Kyle Tucker. I think this is the roster that they're going to ride with. And again, I know it sucks. You're going to have Anthony Santander on your team eating a lot of money. But again, he could bounce back, and I'm hopeful that he does, and he could pop 30 home runs, and then all of us will forget about the injury season last year. But guys, let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, guys, go Jays go.